A fun-to-drive hatchback is almost a curiosity because over the years the segment has thinned out quite a bit. The Abarth Punto is no longer with us, the Baleno RS is not there either, and the Polo GT TSI just wasn't what it was earlier. However, thin segment or not, Hyundai wants to capture it and hence enter this, the all-new i20 N-Line. Now, N-Line is Hyundai's version of a M car or an AMG, however, not the full-blown one. That is, of course, the N. The N-Line is basically spruced up bits and something that really makes the car a little bit more appealing than the standard version. Now, the changes on this are subtle, but there are some unique bits out there. What all are they? We're going to find out in this video. Before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time we put out a video. Now, in terms of design, the i20 N-Line definitely looks a lot sportier than the standard car, and what helps it is this sort of front end, because for once you have this nice power lines on the bonnet, then you have the grille, which is pretty much like the standard grille, it's glossed out, but if you look closely you have these nice checkered flag motifs, and that's really nice. N-Line badging, of course, and lower down you have this dual tone bumper with this contrasting red that really sort of brings out the character. It definitely has that aggressive sporty feel. However, I would have liked it to be a bit lower, but that's something I think maybe you can hope for in the later date. But overall, the front is definitely aggressive. It definitely has that sporty, racy feel that you expect from an N-Line car, and it definitely looks the part. Now, as you come over to the side, there's not a lot that has changed, but the first thing you'll notice are these wheels. They're still 16 inches. Sadly, we would have liked them to be 17s, but the design is definitely new. Again, it's a lot more aggressive, a lot more sporty. You also have the N badging here. There's the N badging on the fenders as well, so plenty of N treatment along. And as you come over, there's not much. Like I said, dimensionally, the i20 is still the same wheelbase, same length. But again, you get this nice contrasting red band. Then you also have this lovely spoiler, which is again more of an aesthetic thing, not functional that much. But what is interesting though is that the N-Line also gets rear disc brakes. Now that is definitely going to be a big plus for people who like to drive themselves. And as you come over to the rear, the first thing that jumps out are these lovely exhaust tips, because they really look the part, they look like they sound good. Sadly, we can't demonstrate that today. However, it definitely goes on with the overall theme of the car. The overall rear is very similar to the standard car. Again, you have N-Line badging here, and you have a Ford diffuser as well. But that's the thing, it is sort of for people who want to show their sporty credentials. It's not, everything here is not really functional, but it definitely works overall as a package. Has that treatment continued on the inside? Let's quickly find out. Now, the interior of the i20 N-Line is much like the exterior. Not a lot that has changed, but it is stuff that you can definitely point out. Starting with this steering, it's very sporty to hold. It's got this nice perforated leather. It's not flat bottom yet, but that's all right because, of course, it gets N badging here as well. Then you have the gear knob, which again is very sporty. It's one of the best gear knobs that I've ever seen on a car. And again, it gets the N treatment. Sadly, it is not a traditional manual. The i20 N-Line is available with a 6-speed IMT or a 7-speed DCT option. This here is the IMT one. The DCT also gets paddle shifters, but again, for those purists out there who will really miss a clutch, I can't help it because that's just not an option on the i20. However, you do get metal pedals, you get plenty of N-Line badging, the carpets have N-Line, and it's a typical Hyundai here because you get all the features as well. You get a sunroof, wireless charging, 10.25-inch touchscreen, digital instrument cluster, I mean the works, and space is again plenty because there hasn't been any change to the dimensions. Now, what lies under the bonnet is a 1-liter turbo petrol engine, 120 bhp, 172 Nm, 0 to 100 is 9.9 seconds, and while that might not sound that exciting, I think we can only pass a judgment once we are out on the road. Now, speaking of the road, Hyundai has also done some tinkering around the suspension. It is a bit more stiffer now, and the steering has been tuned as well. Again, those are things we will find out on a later date as we drive the car, but for now, the impressions of the interior and the exterior are very strong, and the N-Line seems to have gotten the formula just right. Bookings for the i20 N-Line have already begun, and those who are looking at the Polo GT TSI now have a very serious consideration to look for. The i20 N-Line definitely has that very strong first impression. Of course, driving is the bit that is more crucial, and that we will find out on a later date, but from what we've seen, it all looks very promising. The i20 N-Line and the N-Line brand on the whole, we cannot wait for more products to come out. Meanwhile, let us know in the comments on your thoughts about the i20 N-Line. Do you think the mods are enough? Do you think there should have been a bit more on the performance side? And what do you think the pricing is going to be like?